Unscripted.
To be honest, it's not very often that we get bad PlayStation news. Sony just tends to not really have that much negativity around their products, and especially around the PlayStation 5 so far. So it is a little bit odd when you actually see some bad things come up, but it is unfortunate. And again, though, these things do sort of happen. You know, it happens to Microsoft, it happens to Sony, it happens to Nintendo. It's just one of those things where gamers kind of have to deal with it and kind of put up with it. Unfortunately, it is going to make some people unhappy, but at the end of the day, I feel like, you know, look, Sony is not a perfect company. There's no such thing as a perfect company. No matter what company you are, no matter which console you prefer, whatever your preferred method of gaming is, it really doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, nobody's perfect, no company is perfect. And still, I have to point out that, you know, Sony is doing the most in terms of the availability of putting out, you know, the most content and things like that. So that makes me extremely happy. But then when you see stuff like this, you just kind of put your fingers crossed or whatever, because you don't want you don't want to be one of the unlucky ones. Hey, what's up, everybody? Crapgamer here with Crapgamer Reviews, back with another video. Thank you guys for checking it out. I appreciate it. You know, a lot of people ask the easiest way to support a small channel like mine. A simple like goes a long way, so go ahead and hit the like button now. I would appreciate it. Maybe take a minute to consider subscribing. That would always be much appreciated as well. You can hit the bell, and shout out to all the old subscribers, new subscribers, everyone in between. You are amazing folks. I really do appreciate each and every one of you. So far, I have to say, you know, we're 6 weeks away from launch, and there is a certain level of hype that I just cannot be really accounted for. You know, for a while there, I was a little bit upset. It was kind of weird, you know, with the pandemic and everything going on. There wasn't that level of hysteria that there normally is for a new console launch, and that goes for both Sony and Microsoft. Sony's done a pretty good job of changing things around. I think a lot of that had to do with their event a couple weeks ago, for the main reason being was that they were actually able to show some games. And I think, like I've stated multiple times, that's the most important thing, and I realistically just think that that's something that they were able to accomplish at a much better way than what Microsoft was able to accomplish. Even to this day, believe it or not, we're going into October, and we haven't seen a single bit of new next-gen gameplay footage on the Xbox Series X, and that is a little bit concerning. You know, I don't think that it's anything bad. I think that the Xbox Series X is a fine console, and it's a powerful console. I just think that there is probably something wrong with the kits, and, you know, games probably aren't running as smooth as they could, and that this thing's going to come in hot. And when I say that, I mean, you know, it's going to come in hot in terms of, you know, the games running on it and stuff like that. This is probably the main reason why we haven't actually seen anything running on it, aside from, you know, the typical old games, which has kind of become like a bit of a joke at this particular point. But at the same time, you know, I do have to say that I'm very impressed with what Sony was able to showcase, because, you know, again, they were able to showcase, you know, that they actually have games, and they showcase, you know, the third-party stuff, and that's something that I feel like Microsoft has failed to sort of do. But at the end of the day, you know, I still have high hopes that maybe Microsoft will be able to kind of get things in order and kind of get things running at a much better and smoother way than they have so far in terms of gameplay and stuff like that. Because they have some games, like third-party stuff and deals like Assassin's Creed and Watch Dogs and Cyberpunk. These are games that people want to play, but they have yet to show anything of the sort running on an actual Xbox Series X, excuse me. Even I get confused by the name, folks. But anyway, back to the bad PlayStation 5 news. It looks like GameStop isn't going to be able to fulfill all their orders, and also other various retailers as well. The PlayStation 5 consoles and all pre-orders in time for release date might not happen, according to VGC. The retailer's been sending messages to some PS5 pre-order holders. I keep my fingers crossed every day that I don't get one of these, informing them that their next-gen console won't be with them until sometime in 2021. It cites circumstances out of the control, which sounds as though its stock allocation simply isn't enough to meet demand. Apparently, Sony has contacted many European developers as well and informed them of their PS5 allocations, is, which seems to have prompted GameStop to send out these notifications and warnings. And this isn't the only example as well. Other shops have had to inform customers that they won't get their PlayStation 5 at launch, and this also follows on Amazon, which sent out similar emails to those with PS5 pre-orders, unable to guarantee a prompt arrival. Unfortunately, it does seem like demand far outweighs supply, at least for the moment. So if you haven't received anything like the above message, which is, hey, you're not going to get your thing on time, you'll be safe. But again, they could go ahead and like change things around at a moment's notice, and they're pretty much allowed to do that. It does seem like a lot of PlayStation 5 fans will have to wait until next year to get their hands on the world's hottest console. Again, stock shortages shouldn't really be too much of an issue, but the fact of the matter is, clearly Sony has, a hit on their hands. Everybody wants a PlayStation 5, and the fact that these things are so much in demand just really goes to show you what a good job that they've actually done in, sort of accomplishing what they've been trying to accomplish for years, and it puts them in a really good spot going forward into next generation. Now, do we know exactly what the allocations are? No, we're not really sure, but we do know that we are probably going to be into a situation where a lot more people are going to be in demand for that console. Again, there was also a new study that claims U.S. gamers are much more excited for the PlayStation 5 than Xbox Series X. Now, I don't usually put a lot of stock in these things, and I don't really put stock in this one per se. Like, I put way more stock into the like the game trailers one, or the IGN one, or whatever. Those have thousands and even sometimes hundreds of thousands of people, but there was a comparison between Civic Science survey in January and September of 2020 that shows Sony's next generation console actually has an edge over its competition, but the results aren't exactly a landslide victory. Back in January, 57% said that they were going to get a PlayStation 5, and that went up slightly in September to 58%. But please keep in mind that this poll was very few people actually taking the poll. Is conducted by under 1,000 people for the latest one. So I wouldn't take too much stock in what they were able to do there in particular. I do think that, that we're going to be able to see a lot of these things sort of come about. And I also think, we are going to be able to see consoles, and they're going to be available, and sometimes that's not going to be the case. Maybe they're not going to be available as much as we would like. But, at the end of the day, I still think Microsoft and Sony are going to do their best job to let the most people get the most consoles as soon as possible, just because at launch is usually when you're most susceptible to getting all kinds of, sales. People want the latest and the greatest thing, and to be able to see that. But it is a bit unfortunate that Sony doesn't look like they're going to be able to meet demand. We don't know about Microsoft. I do know that Amazon has said repeatedly that the Xbox Series X and Xbox Series S both might not be able to be make the actual on sale date, which is super unfortunate. So I don't know if any of you have pre-orders through any of these things, but if you have pre-ordered a PlayStation 5, I can tell you this much: a lot of people found a lot of luck with pre-ordering a PlayStation 5 just by signing up for the notifications from Sony themselves, which was something that then they give you sort of first dibs to actually be able to go out and do that, which I thought was very important. And it does seem like Xbox is riding high a little bit there, showcasing old games. I got to be honest, I've never seen so many people excited about old games, and the sleight of hand by Microsoft has been genius, right? Like, people just run with whatever narratives they want. Just to kind of change the subject briefly, even though Sony has revealed that 99% of PlayStation 4 games are going to be backwards compatible with no problems, people still want to bring up these old games as if they're a reason to buy a new console. And I personally don't get it. I see the sleight of hand is because Microsoft doesn't really have anything else, so they're really focusing on the older content and stuff like that. For me personally, imagine if the Xbox One was backwards compatible since day one, and everybody's like, forget about Sunset Overdrive and Titanfall and Rise and Dead Rising 3 and Forza and Killer Instinct. I want to play that Perfect Dark Zero again at launch, right? Like, it'd be ridiculous. It'd be absolutely ridiculous. You're not getting a new next-gen console to play old games. Is it a nice little checklist bonus? Absolutely. Is it an absolute reason to buy a next-gen console? No. And this is another instance where Microsoft and Sony are doing two different strategies, and I have to say that I much appreciate Sony's strategy, right? Like, they have backwards compatibility, excuse me, but they don't make a huge deal about it, and I think that's very important, you know what I mean? Same thing with, like, their cloud strategy and stuff like that. It's not something that they're making a huge deal out of, and I absolutely have to say that I love that aspect about them, because it's really not a big deal in my opinion. You know, I think that that's something that's more of a bonus or whatever if you're in an ecosystem, but at the end of the day, most people don't care about that. You know, hey, I gotta use my phone when I go take a dookie and play some Halo. You know, I mean, it honestly just doesn't come up in all my years of gaming. Like, I've bought handhelds and stuff like that, but again, handhelds have been available to the masses forever, and we haven't seen much use on it. Anyway, I'll link all this stuff. Let me know if you had your pre-order canceled down below. You can hit me up on Twitter, Xbox Live, or PSN. I'm always happy to chat. Thank you so much for watching. Stay safe, happy, and healthy. Rack 'em up. Game on, my friends. Game on. Crapgamer out.
Unscripted.